Good morning again, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you happen to be joining us from. Once again, my name is Melissa Bauer, and I am the Director of Sustainability at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us today for our 30 Days, 1,000 Action webinar announcement in partnership with WeSpire. We have a lot of great speakers today and a lot of exciting announcements. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Some quick level setting and housekeeping things to take care of before we dive into this exciting conversation. Everyone who joined the call today, their video is turned off and we're muted. We ask that you stay muted with your video turned off to be respectful and drive attention to our speakers and our content and announcements we'll be making today. So we appreciate your help with that. The chat box is live, going right now, and we really want to encourage you to take advantage of that. We have my fellow PSC team members monitoring that chat box, and we're going to be leaving plenty of time at the end for question and answers for all of our speakers to answer questions at the end, and we'll be using the chat box for that. And then everybody who is registered for the webinar today will be receiving a copy of our slides and our recording. So thank you so much for joining us, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Pet Sustainability Coalition's Executive Director, Caitlin Dudash, who will be taking it over from here. So Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning, Melissa, and thank you so much for the introduction. I'm Caitlin Dudas, a co-founder and the Executive Director at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. So today's topic is one that stretches us to leave our comfort zone. Racism, bias, and prejudice are issues that are loaded with shameful feelings. And in a society where we're so quick to expose the imperfections of others, it's far easier to choose inaction than to take a stand. And for many years, I allowed myself to take a back seat when it came to issues about diversity, equity, inclusion, and racism. I told myself that I was dedicating myself to a different global problem, a global problem about climate change and the environment. But here's the thing. It turns out that issues of social justice are actually tightly interwoven in climate change. The more you learn about climate change and environmental problems, the more I learned that these problems are impacting people of color on a far larger scale. And when you consider that a truly sustainable business is one that's able to sustain all inputs, whether it be natural capital, human capital, or financial capital, how a business impacts its employees, its local community, and the communities along its supply chain, it becomes clear that the way a business interacts with people is a critical component in its ability to sustain itself. The Pet Sustainability Coalition has a vision for a vibrant and collaborative pet industry that drives positive impact on the environments and communities where we do business. We take this holistic definition of sustainability that includes both environmental and social impact. And that's why, though it might feel non-intuitive to see the Pet Sustainability Coalition addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are taking a stand. Pet ownership among people of color continues to grow. In 2017, 69% of Hispanic families and 44% of African American families owned pets. Despite this growth, the animal food manufacturing sector, which might be a good proxy for our own industry, doesn't even come close to mirroring the demographics of pet ownership. Animal food manufacturing is 84.5% white and only 30% female. Our industry is also not immune to wage disparities between women and men. In the US, women earn 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. This pay gap gets larger for women of color. African American women earn 62.5 cents on the dollar compared to white men. Changing these numbers feels big. It might feel daunting to many, but action is required for movement, and the rewards are worth the effort. Not only do we feel a moral imperative to take action so that our society and businesses are inclusive and equitable for all, but the benefits of diversity are well documented and compelling. As we begin to take action together, not only will we be better people, but our businesses will see better financial performance, higher innovation and creativity, and the ability to understand these new markets. The most vibrant communities are diverse. Diversity makes us stronger and more resilient. And if there's anything I've learned in 2020, it's a strong reminder about the importance of resiliency. Now, before I go on with today's presentation, I want to own that I'm a white person talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And being white isn't my only privilege. Not only am I white, but I'm also educated, I'm straight, I'm able-bodied, I live in a developed country, and I make above a living wage. These privileges don't mean that I can't be anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-prejudice, but the privileges do mean that I do not know what it feels like to be oppressed because of my race, my sexuality, my ability, my class, my religion, or other pieces of my identity. And since I don't know exactly what that feels like, I need to elevate voices, opinions, and ideas of those who do know what it feels like so that they can be heard. My privilege also means that I have an opportunity to be an ally. And what does it mean to be an ally? For me, being an ally means leveraging my position of influence with business leaders to address and improve diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. My voice isn't a single voice. And the influence of the Pet Sustainability Coalition hasn't grown from my leadership alone. Let me pull up some slides here. The Pet Sustainability Coalition represents a handful of equally committed staff, 7 board volunteer advisors, and almost 150 brands, retailers, distributors, and suppliers, all committed to a joint mission toward a better future for all. At PSC, we have outlined an action plan, which we released a couple of months ago, that can help ignite the movement toward diversity, equity, and inclusion through education, training, and campaigns that inspire action. While today we're going to be focusing on our challenge to inspire 1,000 actions toward diversity, equity, and inclusion, I also wanted to share with you an update on some of our other work that we're doing to provide our industry and our members and our team with actionable next steps. Our plan includes educating our staff, board, and partners, delivering tools that help companies combat racism while improving diversity, equity, and inclusion, expanding our services to include affordable diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and further integrating DEI into every program here at the PSC. I'm really excited to announce that we are partnering with the Equity Project, which is now available to all companies in the pet industry, even if you're not a PSC member. These are low-cost opportunities to get the training that you need to start addressing diversity, equity, inclusion, and racism in your business. You can now take action with our team with this Deconstructing Equity workshop provided by Ms. Nita Mosby-Taylor. You can read more about her bio and you'll be getting additional information on how to take advantage of this. But all of our PSC members can apply their project credits in order to take next steps in this direction. We're also expanding our toolkit. So to the right, you see our existing categories of tools, but we're reimagining how we continue to address diversity, equity, inclusion, not just today, but for the years to come. So you can see some things that we're already doing. You can see some of the sustainable development goals here in 5, 10, and 16. And those are through our SDG Action Manager, a way that you can start to measure your own performance against diversity, equity, inclusion, and then chart a roadmap with our team to improve. We also have a tool that you see here along the bottom, 7 practices to include diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a webinar going over that resource from Impact Unleashed last year. That's what you can find today, but we also have a roadmap for expanding that to include all of the bulleted items that you see here. But today, I know you're all excited to learn about our 30-day action plan to inspire 1,000 actions toward a diverse, equitable, and inclusive pet industry. Many times I've had the opportunity to bring WeSpire into our community. It's an innovative technology platform that has offered its robust collection of diversity, equity, and inclusion resources and tools to our community. You may recall at PSC's event several years ago in Las Vegas at Super Zoo, we asked MGM to come and talk about how they've been able to really engage their whole workforce across the US in their sustainability program. And WeSpire was the platform that they had selected to drive that engagement. WeSpire also serves incredible brands like Sony, and they have inspired more than 10 million actions using this gamification approach that encourages individuals and businesses and industries to make long-term change through each actionable step. Today, we're joined by Susan Hunt-Stevens, the founder and CEO of WeSpire, and also Pete Wynn, Vice President of Customer Success, to share more with you their why. Melissa's going to talk about the what, how do you get started, what are the actual actions that we could take as part of this challenge. But I really wanted to start with WeSpire to explain more about their programming and their platform and why this partnership is launching this September. So with no further ado, let me stop my screen share and hand it over to Susan.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction and context and charge to your members. And needless to say, we work closely at the intersection of 4 areas of impact and have for a number of years. Environment is where we got started as well, and environmental sustainability. But I think catalyzed by the UN SDGs, WeSpire took our behavior change approach of using technology to motivate and inspire positive action. And several years ago, started working in the area of inclusive culture, motivating and inspiring people to increase psychological safety, a sense of belonging, reduce implicit bias, and more. We also work in 2 other areas, which is social impact, helping companies to drive up volunteering, giving, community engagement, registering to vote, civic action, things like that. And then the 4th area is holistic well-being, covering everything from fitness to mindful eating, meditation, stress management, financial well-being, et cetera. All of these areas fall under the activation programs that drive a purpose-driven workplace. And it's something that we're very proud to catalyze in many of these customers that you mentioned. In addition to driving the behavior change, I think there's 2 other pieces that matter. And one is the ability to distribute these campaigns and programs through the existing comms tools, but the other is this slide here, which is the retention. And what we have been able to demonstrate is that engaging your employees in these purpose-based initiatives is really good for business, in addition to being good for society and the environment. We've proven at clients that engaging employees in these programs can lead to very, very significant increases in retention, performance, satisfaction. This is just an example slide. One of our clients, we were able to demonstrate there was a 9 percentage point difference once people got engaged in their impact initiatives versus those who didn't. And just to give you a sense for the magnitude of that, every 1 percentage point improvement in retention is worth $10 million for this client. So when you harness your employees into these programs, you see very, very big business benefits in the not too distant future. And so while yes, it is the moral and right thing to do, it is also really good for business to get people involved in these. Next slide, please. So today we're going to talk about the work that we've been doing with a number of our clients in the area of inclusive culture, and particularly some of the work that we're helping to catalyze in the wake of the George Floyd murder and resulting protests that are occurring, and in many cases drawing attention in a much needed way to the difference between being an ally and being actively anti-racist. So let's just start with some language, which is, what is an active anti-racist? It is someone who is taking tangible actions to reduce the systemic policies and practices that drive racism of all times. A person who is an anti-racist believes that racial groups are fundamentally equal and that no racial group is better or worse than another. And what instead has happened is that the fundamental cause of racial inequity are longstanding, often racist policies and practices. And so an active anti-racist is actively working to eliminate those policies and practices and to support those organizations that do. The analogy I like to give is that allies stand up and support and walk, you know, and cheer and things like that. Active anti-racists come and stand and help push the rock up the hill together. And so there's a difference between supporting and actively working. I got my own lesson in this at a very young age. My brother is adopted from Korea, and I grew up in a mixed race family in Eastern Washington State, 45 minutes away from the headquarters of the Aryan Nations. We experienced very regular Ku Klux Klan marches through our town. And I knew these things were wrong, but I also had a chance to witness what my brother experienced sometimes on the playground. And one day happened to be standing next to him when a kid ran up to him and called him Kung Ching Man. At which point I proceeded to push the kid down, wind up in the principal's office. And that was being an ally. And that was my first lesson in allyship. Now, what I am charged, and many of us are charged to do, is to actively change those policies and procedures. And so let's talk more about what that looks like. Next slide. So what do you do as an anti-racist advocate? So, and how is that different from being an ally? So the first, there are 4 ways of looking at it. So one is just how you treat individuals. Another is how you value diversity in your own community. Another is how you educate yourself and others. And then the last is how you tackle some of the systemic actions. So what an anti-racist advocacy would be at the individual level is you know, not just expressing surprise or disagreement or asking speakers for clarification or, you know, listening without interrupting, but it would be protesting and participating in talks and rallies against injustice. And we're seeing that, and being actively engaged to support individuals and others that you show up to. In the community level, it would be trying to work to secure equity in the spheres of influence that you have, your home, your workplace, your schools, your place of worship, and advocating for equitable distribution of power, resources, and opportunities. In education, it would be giving public attention to issues of equity and injustice, advocating that kids in schools are treated equally and have equal access, attending school board meetings, serving on community advisory boards, and things like that. And then last is systemic, is things like campaigning for candidates who are working for racial justice, or using your spheres of influence to connect larger groups and institutions to dismantle racism. And so those are some of the behaviors. So when you think about what are actions you can take for anti-racist advocacy that would fall underneath this. Next slide. So with that in mind, one of the things that happened when we, at the beginning of this year, as more and more emphasis on the differences between being an ally, which we've long encouraged, and being an active anti-racist became more clear, is that companies were struggling. Like, what are the behaviors that we should be encouraging in our workplace around active anti-racism? What are the things that we should do? And so we've partnered with a number of our clients, as well as some third-party experts, to create behavioral campaigns that really get to this topic of how to be an active anti-racist. And so part of it is encouraging participation in the Black Lives Matter movement, understanding what white privilege means, which Caitlin did such a really great job of explaining. Actively buying and purchasing and moving your dollars towards minority-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses, shutting down versus ignoring racist statements or jokes, elevating voices, donating to causes that are fighting to amplify the value of your dollar. So these are all activities or actions that in combination with these experts and our clients, we've pulled together a campaign around to encourage and help employees understand what does active anti-racism mean and what are the kinds of things that we as a culture want to celebrate people doing. So that is the first campaign that's going to be available. And for what you all are doing, some of those actions will be pulled from that campaign. Next slide. We also have a number of other campaigns that I think complement the Actively Anti-Racist campaign to focus on the stages of the continuum. Some people are ready to be actively anti-racist, and some are still figuring out where and how to be a more active ally. And you need to see this as a journey, and it's not everybody is going to be ready, and the continuum is valuable as well. So how to be an ally and what it means to be an ally to different groups. So there's a whole campaign around allyship. Psychological safety is another aspect that we really encourage workplaces to focus on. We've done some very in-depth research with a number of organizations. And when we looked at when women and underrepresented minorities succeed into positions of leadership, and when companies are successfully creating a more representative supervisory level management team, what sticks out? And every culture is different as to what's working, but one of the consistencies we've found is that they are cultures that have created high levels of psychological safety among women, underrepresented minorities, and white employees, that everyone is feeling psychologically safe in the workplace. And so focusing on psychological safety is a big emphasis of our inclusion and diversity work. And one of the things that was and is very exciting to see is that Google has done some very in-depth research through a project called Project Aristotle, and over several years tried to find what was the key to their highest performing teams. What they found is the key to high performing teams is psychological safety. So high performance is created by psychological safety, and strong levels of psychological safety among women, men, people of color are things that drive better equity and inclusion outcomes, which drives better performance. And so as a result, we have a lot of campaigns that focus on what are the behaviors that you take to increase psychological safety in the workplace. We also have several programs around implicit bias to help people understand their own implicit biases. We all have biases, and every culture has biases. When I led the Diversity Council for the New York Times for several years, one of the things that we found that we had a lot of implicit bias about was whether somebody was a part of a represented workforce or not, and had to really tackle some of the implicit biases that were based on the different union, non-union membership and things like that. So how to tackle implicit bias in your culture is also an incredibly important complement to the overall anti-racist workplace work that we're doing. So those describe some of the campaigns, some of the actions, and some of the behaviors that are going to be encouraged and motivated and inspired and recognized and hopefully rewarded as you participate in these campaigns. Let me turn it over now to Pete Wynn from our team, who will explain a little bit more about how it's going to all work. Pete?
Hey, folks. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for that great coverage of why we're doing what we're doing. Now it's to me to talk about the how. So WeSpire is a website that is delivered over the internet to you and your employees and your audience members. It works on desktop, tablet, mobile, any piece of technology that has a browser. I'm sure we could load it onto like a fridge door if the fridge screen had a browser in it. And anyone in your audience can sign up. You don't have to pre-approve them. You don't have to invite them, although it helps them to feel welcomed if you invite them, as long as they know the link to go to. And the link is pets.wespire.com. That gets you to the pet industry challenge that's been set up by Melissa and her colleagues just for you folks. You can sign up with an email address. Please use a working email because that gets you into the communications that tell you how you're doing in the challenge. And we have a very simple password requirement. So it takes less than 30 seconds to get fully signed in. Once you're there, you participate. The interface is designed to be deliberately very simple. And we've deployed this software to over 50 enterprises who've deployed it to their many hundreds of thousands or millions of employees. And we don't do a lot of end user training, nor do we get a lot of end user, support requests, because the software is designed according to common web principles, and therefore hopefully everyone kind of gets what to do. After signing up, anyone who does sign up, they can opt out of communications, but they are opted into the reminders and progress updates that the challenge is going to send about the actions that they're taking. And your contact Melissa here and her team, they are fully in control of the cadence and content of the reminders. So they'll be working to write the communications that best inspire your particular audience to action. So this is all very customized to your companies and your industry. I want to both pause for questions, but also prepare Melissa, because she is going to live demo accessing the site and signing into it. So I will go off video, but stay on audio and stop my screen. And if anyone has any questions about WeSpire or our work now, feel free to jump in. But other than that, Melissa, you take it away.
Thank you, Pete and Susan and Caitlin, for all of that background and talking about the why and all of this and really important work that we are so excited to be launching at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. I get the really cool job of wrapping this up and talking about kind of what does this actually mean. So first, let me do a quick walkthrough of what this is actually going to look like. So when you go to pets.wespire.com, this is what you'll see. And down here at the bottom, this is how you get registered. You just put in your email address and get signed up. Next, we're going to go and you're going to log it in. So we'll show you really quick. Here we go. Login, as you can see, is really, really easy. And then you will be taken to this screen. So right now we have one action live, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute so you can see what you can be doing today and right now. But using the actual platform is really, really, really easy. So all of your challenges come right up here as soon as you log in. This is where you will see our challenges and modules that go live when the challenge goes live September 1st. Also, if we have any webinars or events during the case of September, that will pop up. And everybody who's on this webinar, if you sign up today, you will already get points just for attending this webinar. So kudos to you on that. Just to walk you through the interface, a couple of other things. The first thing I want to show you is if you click on Teams, we're really, really encouraging all of companies within the pet industry to get involved. But you can see how you're doing. You can see a leaderboard. You can see how you're doing compared to other companies. And want to give a huge shout out to Birdstone Technologies, who is already on the platform engaged and doing great work. But you can see we've got leaderboards. You can see how different teams, how your teams are doing. If you click on your teams up here on the right, you will see how everyone kind of in your organization is doing. You can opt out of this if you don't want people seeing it, but we really want this to be an opportunity to allow organizations to show leadership and to really work together. The other parts of the platform that you'll see is the dashboard. So you can see kind of what happens as part of this. You can cheer on your colleagues. You can cheer on other people in the industry. This is JF from Birdstone, who invited a bunch of people to the challenge. You can cheer them on. You can post pictures. You can like things. You can challenge others. You can tag people in these posts. So, this is what JF did. That's awesome. What are our team doing? So you can unlock all of that. And then, as Pete mentioned, people do feel very welcome to the platform when they get a personal invitation. So if you want to spread the word in your own company or throughout the industry, it's really easy. All you do is go to invite, and we're going to go, johnsmith@gmail.com. And then you could just click this and they're going to give it an invitation. So it's really easy. But let me show you, now that we are all familiar, this platform is going to be great. What actually is this challenge that we've been leading up to for the last 30 minutes? So today, we are really, really excited on behalf of the Pet Sustainability and Coalition to announce our 30 Days, 1,000 Actions toward a diverse, equitable, and inclusion pet industry challenge. This challenge is going to run from 30 days, starting September 1st. We hope to inspire 1,000 actions pet industry wide, which is we will own a very, very ambitious goal. However, as Caitlin so eloquently said, this requires all of us. It's good for us to be doing this as people, but it's good for your business. And we really hope to use this as an opportunity to bring the industry together, to have some shared actions, some shared conversations, some shared experiences around that. This challenge is open to the entire pet industry. You do not have to be a PSC member to participate. If you want to be a PSC member, if you're not, we'd love to have that conversation with you, but it's not necessary. Anybody in the pet industry is welcome and encouraged to attend. You can participate as an individual, or like we said, we'd love to get your entire company involved. So for example, if John's Pet Shop wants to challenge Katie's Pet Shop, we are going to go through this entire module as a business, and we want to commit to do that. We want to do publicity around that. We really, really, really encourage that. To support that, if you are participating as a company, if you want to encourage your coworkers and colleagues, we're here to support you. So if you want to do kind of a weekly update, Melissa, how is everybody at John's Kate Shop doing this week? How many actions do we get? We can get that live data for you and support you on any kind of basis. If you want to look at the different modules, and we're going to do one a week, but hey, Melissa, can you get us more information on what it means to be an ally this week? You can reach out. That will get you those resources. We're here to support you as an individual, as an organization, as an industry, every day of these 30 days and beyond. So PSC will be providing updates on our platform to the industry to let us know how it's going, what people are finding most compelling, what are successes. But we're also being realistic about, we think this is going to go a certain way. We hope this is going to go a certain way, but what if it doesn't? And, what were the challenges? What are the lessons learned? As Caitlin really eloquently said, this is the first step of many, right? So we hope to create some education and some action in this campaign, but this isn't the end of the journey, and we hope to take lessons learned from this and move on to next steps in our journey and further action. So as Susan put, there's different modules within the social campaigns at WeSpire, and we are thrilled that she highlighted 3 of the ones that we will be including as part of this challenge. There will be 6 in total. So we acknowledge that individuals and companies are at different places of their diversity, equity, and inclusion journey. And so we have tried to provide modules and education and actions that you can take no matter where you are on this journey. So the 6 modules that will be included are why diversity matters, understanding implicit bias, the psychological safety component that Susan mentioned was so important around fostering inclusivity, how to be an ally, which Caitlin spoke about, the fight for environmental justice, providing that context around, as sustainability minded businesses that are thinking about climate change, how is that affecting different communities? And then the how to be active anti-racist campaign that Susan mentioned. For your reference, you can participate in as many of these modules or as few of these modules as you'd like. Nothing is required. You don't get different, points for different modules or anything like that. So nothing is required. We really want to welcome you to this journey wherever you happen to fall and where you're comfortable with, and hopefully pushing those boundaries a bit as well. So what do the modules actually look like? WeSpire has done a really, really, really great job in trying to make this as an engaging and fun journey for a sometimes difficult topic as possible. So this is your Why Diversity Matters module. So you can see these are some of the different actions that you can take as part of that module, and you will see that different actions have different points associated with them based on kind of how much impact that one action is. But we don't want you to just take our word for it that these are the actions that are important. There's a reason behind that. So if we dive into that first one, which is learn how diversity helps a company bottom line, there's lots of resources, there's lots of education that says, why is this important? We don't want to just be encouraging our employees to do this because Melissa says it's the right thing to do. There's science behind this, there's data behind this, there's context about why these actions matter, the difference that they can make, and the real benefit to your business that they can take. So each individual action in each individual module has some significant resources around the why. And the really cool thing about it is each individual action, we can use that as a platform to encourage conversation and collaboration. You can write a comment, you can post a picture, you can tag your colleagues or other businesses to talk about, how does that one action import you, as you took this step, what did you learn? What do you encourage other people to learn with you in this journey? So the good news is we don't have to wait till September 1st. We have a module in there right now, hoping that you will help us share the word about this initiative, both with your internal colleagues and with external organizations as well. You can start getting points now. Want to cheer on Birdstone Technologies, but somebody needs to catch up with them, right? We can't let them run away with it. And so you can log onto this platform. It is live. It is live today. You can start taking actions to spread the word in anticipation of that September 1st launch. As I mentioned, it's really, really, really easy to do so in the platform. You just go to that invite column and put in email addresses, and then people will get a personalized invitation to the platform. In that end, we at PSC have put some resources together to help you spread the word. We have a one-pager that you can download that outlines the challenges, outlines how people participate, some of the benefits, and how to get started. We've created a downloadable email template. If you, on behalf of your organization, would like to invite everyone in your organization to join you in this movement. And the same thing for a press release. If you would like to, and we strongly encourage you as a business to be talking to your consumers and communicating to them that this is important to you and your business and your culture at your business. And if you would like to spread the word that you are participating in this challenge and inviting others to do so as well, we have a ready to go press release template available for you. So that is the challenge. We are so excited. We are so excited to have you along in this journey and want to take a moment and pause and really invite you to be a part of it, invite you to really be part of this ongoing discussion and collaboration. We hope that this is an opportunity for people to not be siloed, but be working together within their organizations and across the industry to really help build some collaboration around moving the industry forward in this positive direction. So please feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Happy to jump on a conversation after this webinar if that would be helpful and have more information. But also want to invite Caitlin and Pete and Susan back along and invite you. What questions do you have? How do you feel about this? Would love to just give you the opportunity to ask some questions as well. Uh-oh, looks like we have our first challenge. Mike Miller is already challenging JF to come out and take Birdstone strong, which is great. So we do have a question. I'll handle this one. What about pet adjacent industries like packaging suppliers, things of that nature? Yes, if you do anything that has anything related to pets, the more the merrier. We'd really, really like to invite everyone to join and be a part of this. We do have a great question for Susan and Pete. Have you found that people are industry outside of the pet industry, that people are excited about this challenge? Have you had a lot of participation? How are things going?
Sure, we had a number of clients. Pete can speak to a little bit more depth about how some of the clients have launched it and responded to it, but we've seen a number of them running the How to Be Actively Anti-Racist, which we were not 100% sure what the response would be. It's a campaign that is definitely pushing organizations to take more action in this area, and some are very ready to, and some still came out with an initial statement, are still trying to figure out what their next steps and actions are going to be. So we've been very pleased with the response so far. But Pete, do you want to add any specifics?
Sure. I would say that, not only did we develop several of the campaigns and actions ourselves and working with experts in the inclusion and diversity field, and just by, reading and learning from members of the Black and Indigenous communities. Also, some of our customers, as they have always done, have pushed us to create some of this content. So the campaign, which we did a lot of original research on, but also partnered with one of our customers about linking environmental justice and racism, was inspired by Cisco Computers, the global telecommunications giant out of San Jose. So they have long had a sustainability program with us. Their program team is always looking for ways to broaden people's, both inside and outside of Cisco and their community's understanding of sustainability. And to Caitlin's point at the beginning, it's not just about, your sustainability impact score. It's about, are you leaving your communities and your customers a better world in all of its ramifications? And so Cisco said, our programmatic remit in our company now is sustainability communications. So we are communicating about that, but we want to be a strong part of Cisco's response in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. Can you partner with us to write a campaign that gets us there? So absolutely, we are seeing interest from technology, from pharmaceutical, from certainly from companies like grocery stores and hospitality chains that are both suffering a lot due to the COVID pandemic, but also are, because of the nature of their employees and their operations, they're deeply embedded in their customer communities, as I'm sure a lot of you folks are as well. So there is no part of business that is not appropriately motivated, I think, by this moment.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Question for you, Caitlin. If we have a company that's 100% bought in, we think that this is great, what can they be doing to encourage other companies in the industry to be joining this challenge as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I do think this is part of the reason why we've chosen this social platform as a way to encourage others to join. And so those resources that Melissa pointed out, you're welcome to share and send an email to your network and encourage them to join, or challenge them to join if you want some friendly competition. We'd be happy to help you conduct those, get you in touch with other companies that you'd like to join the challenge. Also, I think using LinkedIn as a primary social platform where we connect with other businesses is a great way to encourage other companies to join as well. We will also, as part of our hard launch right before September, be doing a press release, and we would love to promote the companies that have pre-registered and are getting signed on, and include a challenge from all of those companies for others to join as well. So lots of opportunities for that. Melissa, I also saw another question come in that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know what the cost for companies to participate is.
So this is through the exceptional generosity, and so huge thank you to Susan and Pete on behalf of WeSpire, but through the exceptional generosity of the collaboration between WeSpire and Pet Sustainability Coalition. This is completely free for anyone in the pet industry that wants to use this. I would strongly encourage, as Susan mentioned, WeSpire has an incredible suite of tools beyond this just anti-racism and DEI challenges. So if you're looking to kind of expand your employee engagement programs around, coronavirus, how are we all doing during a pandemic, or wellness or giving or anything, I'm going to strongly suggest we check out the WeSpire platform beyond this specific module, and I'll include that information. But yes, we want to sincerely thank our partners for that and being able to make this free on behalf of the entire industry. I do want to address a couple of just logistical questions that have come in. How do we join a team? So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, Steffi. When you sign up, you will be asked what your name is, and then you will ask to be join a team. So every Pet Sustainability Coalition current member is listed as a team, so you could join on behalf of your company. So for example, when JF joined, he got asked which company is he with, or which team he wants to join, and he chose Birdstone Technology. But also, as I mentioned, you don't have to be a Pet Sustainability Coalition member to join this. So we encourage all, and there's options to do that as well. And if you aren't a PSC member and your team isn't listed and you would like to engage your entire company, which we hope that you do, you can let us know, and we will try and get your team listed as well. Any other questions we have? Oh, another logistical question. I guess, Pete, you're probably the best person to answer this, and then I know we're coming up against time, so we will have to jump off. But Pete, do you find this platform works particularly well for small companies versus larger companies, or is it a kind of equal access works best for everybody?
That's a great question, and I would say that the thing I've learned in working with the large companies that I've worked with over the years is that even a giant company like Cisco, 90,000 employees, it is really just a large collection of small, communities or tribes or fiefdoms or groups or units or floors in a building or what have you. And so certainly WeSpire is a company of like 20 people, and so we use the platform for our various challenges and whatnot, and it works for us. And so the best thing about the platform is that it tries very hard to, even if you are one of many in a large company, it tries to show you that like the interpersonal ties. So when there's a leaderboard, it shows you, imagine there's 1,000 people in the challenge. And so it doesn't show you the top 10 in the leaderboard. It shows you and like the 3 people on either side of you in the leaderboard, give you that like context of who's with you, who you're competing with, who you're against, where you fall. And so we have, for the customers that license our programs and software for, on an annual basis, we have pricing tiers to take even tiny companies up to the world's largest. Our smallest, our companies have ranged from a winery in South Africa to, General Motors. So it really runs the gamut. And I would say that the main distinguishing factor for success is there a cultural program or a cultural, effort that you are all ready to be invested in. So that takes leadership buy-in, it takes good content and programming, and it takes a digital platform that doesn't put any, barriers in the way of accessing it. So, is the interface fun and pleasant? Are there as few clicks as possible to get where you want to go to get the value out of participating in the program? So we try very hard on the interface side of things, and we try to put our best foot forward with the content and program side of things, and then the companies and customers we partner with take the content and programs, make it specific to their company. They take where we've started, but they layer in their own cultural goals and values into it. And then their leadership and their cultural teams inside the company provide that permission to get involved, permission to celebrate success with the program.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we're a little bit over time, so we're going to have to wrap it up. Would really encourage you to continue this conversation. Feel free to ask us questions, but also want to hand it over to Caitlin, and if there's anything you'd like to add before we let everybody go and officially start encouraging them to sign up.
Thank you, Melissa, so much for walking everyone on the webinar through this incredible time in history to start taking all of our actions, and every little step really does add up. So we're honored and proud to be partnering with WeSpire. Thank you, Melissa, for your leadership, and to both you, Susan and Pete. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out directly to our team, and we will get you started or answer any questions you might have. So thanks so much, everyone, for attending today.